Good day, everyone. I'm your MIL teacher, Mr. Aldrin G. Sikitin, and today we're going to talk about media and information languages. But before that, let us have first the lesson objectives. At the end of the discussion, you're able to evaluate everyday media and information with regards to codes, convention, and messages in relation to audience, producers, and other stakeholders. And assess and evaluate the codes, convention, and message of a group presentation. So let us start the discussion. First, let us define the term media language. Media language or media language is the way in which the meaning of a media text is conveyed to the audience. In short, this is how the makers of information delivered the message to the receiver. One of the ways media language works is to convey meaning through signs and symbols suggested by the way a scene is set up and filmed. There are different types of media languages, and these are visual, oral, written, verbal, and non-verbal languages. So now we're going to describe, characterize, and define them one by one. Starting with visual language. Visual language is used in television and films, meaning this type of language appeals to the eye or of the audience. What is on the screen has been chosen specifically to generate a series of effects and meanings. Specific camera angles and movements are chosen to tell the story and meaning of that scene. So that is an example of a visual language. The second one is oral language. This is characterized or described as diegetic and non-diegetic sound. Diegetic and non-diegetic sound are sounds that can be heard in a film or show. So these sounds can help create a scene and construct the environment, atmosphere, and mood of the film. The oral language of a media text can also help us to define the genre of a piece. Examples of diegetic and non-diegetic sounds are the voices or the dialogue of the characters, the sounds of the object on or of the objects in the film or on the show, or the sound score or background sound of the film. So those are examples of oral language. The third one is written language. This is the print-based media, also in text such as captions for photographs. The language chosen generates meaning. Caption allows the publication to represent story in a particular way. So basically, in written language, you're going to use printed information such as books, newspapers. So those are the media wherein written language was used. Next is verbal language. This is used in media areas such as television, radio, and film. How the language is delivered and its context used is important factors in the way meaning is generated for the audience. And lastly, we have nonverbal language. This is in terms of body languages like gestures and actions. The meaning received by the audience is seen through how actor uses their body. So, what is a media text? A media text, in the study of media, text is utilized to depict any media term. For example, TV programs, photo adverts, newspaper adverts, film, radio programs, web pages, and so forth. Text is therefore the main point of our study in understanding how media languages create meaning. In this, codes and convention will enter the frame. So what is code, or what are the codes? Codes are systems of signs which create meaning to communicate ideas and impressions for an audience, producer, or other stakeholders. Codes can be divided into two categories: technical and symbolic codes. Technical codes are all the ways in which equipment is used to tell the story in a media text. For example, the camera work in film, like camera angles, sound, and lighting. On the other hand, symbolic codes include the language, dress, and actions of characters. Some codes fit both categories, like music, for example, is both technical and symbolic code. Conventions are the generally accepted ways of doing something. There are general conventions in any medium, such as the use of interviewee quotes in a print article, but conventions are also genre-specific. The use of conventions allows the audience to understand more than just the surface of the speeches. Thus, codes and conventions are used together in any from study of genre. It is not enough to discuss a technical code such as camera work without saying how it is conventionally used in a genre. A setting can be for a number of purposes, such as in realism, wherein time and place of the setting is made known to the audience, or by atmosphere, wherein reinforcement of the desired mood is done. For example, in horror movies, a post-apocalyptic scene is used, or in symbolism, wherein it can be conveyed through setting. For example, candles can symbolize a romantic atmosphere. So that is an example of um, situations wherein we can use codes and conventions. Next, wherein we could use codes and convention is the theme. So the subject or a specific theme in a scene or the entire film. For example, a film taking place in the 1950s. The actors wear vintage clothing and environment and are set to be like the 1950s. Also, we could use codes and conventions in our character. So, character or a narrative might use a sympathetic character with whom the audience strongly identifies with. They may share qualities and values, or on unsympathetic character where audience dislike them. They increase sympathy to the main character. A while ago, we discussed the setting. So again, setting or stereotypes can reinforce existing ways of thinking about certain groups, appeal to the prejudices of the audience. And next is props. Props, sets, and locations can influence our interpretation of character as contribution to the atmosphere of the film. Next to discuss is the narrative and the plot, or the arrangement of the events or scenes in a story. So we have the linear plot, wherein events would occur in the same order they would occur in real life, or the what we call chronological plot. And then next is the manipulation of time. So here, flashbacks will enter the frame. So uh, the story or the film or the show will start at the specific point in the future or in the present, and then we'll go back to the past to reminisce the things that happened, and then we'll go back to the present time. We also have suspense. It is hinted something dramatic is going to happen. So we have clues that something will happen in sometime in the future. And then we also have the climax and resolution. So here the main problem occurs. It comes to a head and the things are sorted out. And then we also have sting in the tail. Ending is complete surprise or unexpected. So it's like there is a certain twist to the story. And then lastly, we have the open ending. So here, loose ends left. Audience may be left wondering as story seems not over. It's just like the story is not over yet. There's something to happen after that scene. So that is an example of an open ending plot or story. Next on our list is sound. So sound builds up the atmosphere of the film or the show. So I have here a list of sounds or scenes wherein we could use sounds to emphasize the atmosphere or the mood of these specific scenes. So first is the scary scene. So we could use creepy music in the background, just like creaking door, footsteps coming, and other creepy laugh or creepy sounds. And then next is the sad scene. So here you could use slow and emotive music. And then third, we have the happy scene. So you could use laughter, joy, and upbeat music to emphasize that specific scene. And then lastly, we have the serious scene. So here, you may use silence to enhance the atmosphere or the seriousness of that specific scene. So those are some examples of scene wherein we could use sounds to emphasize the mood or the atmosphere of our film. Next is image analysis. Image analysis is the extraction of meaningful information from images, mainly from digital images by means of digital image processing techniques. Image analysis tasks can be as simple as reading bar-coded tags or as sophisticated as identifying a person from their faces. Also, we have framing. Framing defines the position from which the image was created. It is the border between the space we are allowed to see and that which is out of our sight. Under framing, we could talk of several factors. And these are, first, we have the angle. Angle refers to the camera's angle in relation to the vertical. The most common is the straight-on position. So we also have the bird's eye view and the worm's eye view. So those are examples of angles. Second, we also have the height. This is the height at which the shot is taken, usually eye level, just under 2 meters. Third one is the level. This refers to the camera's horizontal angle. As with the vertical angle, usually it is straight on, but the camera can be tilted on its left side or to the right side to change the angle or the level. The fourth one is the distance. This refers to the distance of the object from the camera. So there are 6 categories of distances. The first one is the extreme long shot, wherein we could use it on landscape photography or landscape scenes. Second, we have the long shot. This is used for the group of people or if we are taking pictures or videos of group of people. Third, we have the medium shot. So used for 1 or 2 people. The medium close up, wherein we could use it to take pictures of a part of a body. The fifth one is the close up, used for face or capturing the face of our object or subject. And then the sixth one is the extreme close up, wherein we will emphasize a certain part of the face of our subject or the object we are taking. The fifth one to discuss under framing is the depth of field. This refers to the distance between the nearest and the farthest area from the camera which is focused. Depth focus photography will have the whole scene in focus, whereas a conventional photograph will focus on the main object with the background out of focus. Soft focus can be created by using special lenses and layers. And then the sixth one is the lens type. Wide-angle lenses make the scene appear deeper than it is. An extreme wide angle will give a fisheye effect, while a telephoto lens pulls objects closer together. And then lastly, we have the film stock. This refers to the speed at which the film responds to the light. A fast stock will produce grainy images, while a slow stock will require lots of light. Slow stock is the norm in cinema, while most television companies use videotapes. So, by discussing those 7 factors under framing, so we have only looked at still images so far. So, now, here are the 6 types of moving images. So, first one is the pan, the term used for panorama. So, in pan, the camera moves horizontally from a static position. The second one is tracking or dolly. So, in here, the camera moves on track or on wheels to give a smooth movement. The third one is the tilt. So, in tilt, the camera moves up or down vertically from a static position. So, if in pan, the camera moves horizontally, in tilt, the camera moves vertically or up and down. And then next, we have the crane. So, in crane, the camera is moved on a vehicle that can move up and down and laterally. So, the ultimate crane shot is the helicopter shot. And the fifth one is handheld. So, it gives the frame a shaky look, often used as a point of view shot. And then lastly, we have the zoom. Technically, not a movement, or this is not a movement, but the change of the focal length bringing us closer or further away from the object in the frame. So those are examples of taking images with a movement. Next is the content, or the things that can be found in our image or scene. So, in here, we have the term mise en scene, which means put into the scene. So, mise en scene refers to anything that goes into a shot, including sets, props, actors, costumes, camera movements, and performances. It is often seen as the principal vehicle by which a film's meaning is conveyed. So, if we put together those factors like sets, props, actors, we could come up with a message that can be portrayed or conveyed on our scene. So, here are the three main parts of mise en scene analysis. The first one, to analyze the specific scene, is the subject. So, there may be more than one subject in an image, and we bring our cultural knowledge to bear when looking at a subject. Next is the lighting. This refers to how the image is lit. Think about where the lighting is or where the lighting came from. Does it came from the front part or from the side, back, above, or below of our subject? Or is the lighting of equal intensity? Or where is the light coming from? So those are the factors to be considered when looking or analyzing the lighting. And then next is the setting. So this is self-explanatory. So we have different expectations, for example, of a tropical setting when compared to an Arctic one. So since we have discussed the settings a while ago, so it will be a great help for us to consider those things. And then the last thing to consider is the semiotics. Semiotics is the study of signs and symbols. It discusses the literal and potential meanings. It explores how words and other signs make meaning. In semiotics, a sign is anything that stands in for something other than itself. This lesson focuses primarily on linguistic signs. So there are two identified orders of signification: the denotation and the connotation. So denotation is the literal or obvious meaning, the description of what is physically seen or heard. It can be found on a dictionary. So that is your clue. Denotation, D for the dictionary. Okay? And then next is the connotation. So connotation is the potential or suggested meaning of a word or something. So basically, it pertains to symbolism. For example, a cross, which is the symbol for Christianity, it can also be a symbol used in mathematics, or it can be a crucifix. So when we speak of connotation, this is the symbolic meaning of a certain object or a certain text. So that is how, or those are things how semiotics works. Okay, so those are the things that we need to consider if we are analyzing media languages. Okay, so if you have questions regarding this topic or regarding this lesson, you may ask me on our respective GCs. So I'm very excited to answer your questions. Again, I'm your MIL teacher, Mr. Aldrin G. Sikitin, saying stay safe and have a great day ahead.